This week's Torah portion, Parashat Miketz. We are back in Djerba. I know we're doing a lot of Djerba, hopefully in the book of Numbers, Shmuel. We'll move on to other places in North Africa. I'd like to focus on Shmuel, Taib, prominent family of rabbis, past century. He makes Aliyah in the middle of the 20th century. He writes 3 books. He writes a commentary on the Haggadah, which, as I'm coming to realize, many prominent North African rabbis wrote. He wrote a commentary on the Bible called Afafei HaShachar. And he also wrote an interesting philosophical book tackling different issues like divine providence, etc. and so forth. Let's look at Yosef's dreams. This week's Torah portion, Yosef's dreams, Rabbi Shmuel Taib of Djerba. He looks at, the question is, why does Paro listen to Yosef's dreams and not to the others? So one argument Rabbi Shmuel Taib brings is he says, if you look at the commentaries, Midrashim, what the sort of wise men of Egypt, what they brought forth to Pharaoh as an interpretation, what they were actually bringing were private interpretations, what you'd expect of a private person. For example, there are going to be 7 wars, you're going to have 7 daughters. They were giving interpretations to dreams that private people have. However, Yosef knew that Pharaoh, Paro, is a king. And kings, Rabbi Shmuel says, have different kinds of dreams. Kings, he teaches us, have general dreams, perhaps nationalistic dreams, to do with what's going to happen in the broader scale of things, which is an interesting concept when you think about it. Could it really be that sort of a prime minister or a king, the dreams they have a sort of more macro look at things and less of a private one? And this is why Rabbi Shmuel says, Paro listens to Yosef, because he's the first one to come and give him an interpretation that talks about the macro and not about the micro. And then he says, yes, this is an interpretation for a king, I accept it. Rabbi Shmuel also brings another interpretation, which I notice actually originates in certain Hasidic or European sayings, but Rabbi Shmuel brings it, he possibly also got it, from his own looking into the text. And this is, why does Paro listen to Yosef? Another version is, when Paro has his dream, we are told that he is sitting above the Ye'or, right? Omed me'ale Ye'or. Ye'or being the symbol of sort of God, of divine, providence in Egypt. And in his dream, Paro is above the Ye'or. However, when he tells the dream to Yosef, he says, I was sitting by the edge of the Ye'or. And Yosef's interpretation, as King David teaches us, is that Yosef says to Paro, I didn't hear in your dream that you were on the edge of the Ye'or. I actually heard that you were on top of the Ye'or. And when Paro hears this, he actually knows what I dreamt, because Paro didn't want to tell others that in his dream he was on top of the Ye'or, because being on top of the Nile is as if to say, I'm the king above the sort of godly and divine within Egypt. And then he listens to Yosef. This is this is from Rabbi Shmuel Taib. Fascinating commentary. He brings other commentaries where he talks about the different battles between the brothers, which are actually halachic disputes, worth looking at Afafei HaShachar. I'll bring one more thing by another Djerban rabbi, Rabbi Yosef Vasifa Yonatan Cohen. We learned about him a few weeks ago. A nice little thing for Chanukah. What really happened in Chanukah? Rabbi Yosef Vasifa Cohen, he looks around, we've had the Holocaust, he says wars are not a good thing. Wars are never a good thing. Could it really be that we are commemorating the win of a war, the Maccabees winning, thousands of years ago, a war that in truth today doesn't mean anything because we're immigrants in foreign lands and there's anti-Semitism. Are we really, it's as if we're mocking ourselves. Are we really celebrating a victory that happened 2,000 years ago that has no implication to today? Right? What's going on? And one beautiful thing he says that obviously back then, the win wasn't a regular war. It was a war of, spirituality beating materialism, beating right. It was what did they want to do? They wanted to take away Shabbos, Brit Milah, Rosh Chodesh, everything that's important to a Jew, and spirituality won. Spirituality we have until this very day. And then he ends by saying, do you know what we celebrate? We don't celebrate the victory of a war. We celebrate the victory of a song. When we sing Hanerot Halalu, he says that's what the Maccabees did. They won with a song. When I think about this, it's interesting because if I ask you, what do you remember about the Israelites, thrashing, or God thrashing the Egyptians? How many chariots fell into the Red Sea? What happened? we don't remember the details, but if I ask you what was the song that the Israelites sang, everyone knows Az Yashir Moshe, the famous song, and Rav Yivasifa is saying this connects to this idea of the win in Chanukah as the win of spirituality. It's not just that we won any war, it's the war of spirituality, the war of the song, because we are the people of the book, people of words, people of song, divine song from God to us. Thoughts from Rabbi Yosef Vasifa Cohen on Chanukah, and from Shmuel Taib on the Parsha of Miketz. Shabbat Shalom and Chanukah Sameach.